What color is that shirt you're wearing?
Hard.
What party color?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm typing into my Instagram. I just unfollowed every single person on my Instagram. That took me like an hour, but I'm DMing Carolyn
Oh,
right now. Podcast
Prevo?
soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see what happened?
I do not oh yeah. I see what place she's in. I didn't watch any of the performances from any of the virtual stuff. Can you even do that?
I don't know. But she was in first when leaderboards first populated, and then there was some kind of adjustment, and she ended up in first.
Yeah, she's a savage. Look at how incredible her score is. Carolyn Prevost from Canada, first place in the Atlas Games. How did she do? How would she have ranked in the other competitions?
Oh, I haven't done that enough. Man, I've been swamped West Coast.
What was the other virtual event?
Asia.
Asia. Okay, so I'll just go over there and take a peek real quick and see what the fastest woman's time is. The fastest woman's time in Asia it was 3:08, and Carolyn's was 2:32. And that's making quite a statement. Why are the men doing it so much faster than the women?
Best event.
Yeah, just workout 6. Is that because of the muscle ups?
Workout 6 doesn't have any muscle ups.
Oh, wasn't that the? Oh, I'm confused then. Which one was that?
Clean and jerk burpees, and I don't know. I
Oh,
think it
that's
would
right.
be,
Sorry, I'm conflating that with the live event. Sorry.
yeah. No, I thought that the women would be just as fast on Gretel as the men. I'm not really sure.
You know, there was a time in HQ when I was there, and Brooke Entz was doing a workout, and I think it was with Tia, and they were doing a workout, and it had burpees in it. I think it was very similar to this workout. And the one thing I noticed is that although Brooke moved really, really well and she did the workout fast, there was a flow to Tia. Tia moved like water, and Brooke was definitely more. And this is unfair to say, but just for lack of robotic in how she moved. And so it's kind of like when someone drives, you know, there's people who flow, and then there's other people like, okay, I'm driving straight, and they have both hands on the wheel like a weirdo, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to make a turn, and they put their blinker on, and they get all like, they do everything in steps. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you'll see men hold babies like that sometimes. Like, dude, just flow. It's just a baby. Just roll with it. And when I see Carolyn Prevost work out, she flows. She flows. I can't wait to watch that workout because she probably just rolls over the bar like water.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal mover, and I hope we get to see it because it'd probably be a fun one to watch her do.
So you're at the West Coast Classic and it just finished. You want to talk about the men? Boy, Cole Sager looked big, by the way. He looked yoked.
I had a chance to talk to both Cole and Noah after the event. Both guys seemed pretty happy with their performance, happy to get back on a live competition floor. I think, especially Noah said he was like kind of just nervous and taking off the competition jitters early in the weekend. But by the end, he was getting back in the flow. So they're excited with how they did and looking forward to the games. But for Cole, man, this is his first time ever winning CrossFit competition. He never had, he never sanctional, wins the semifinal. Obviously, he's never won the game. So this is like his biggest win ever.
Was he nervous? And why did he take 20th? Oh, I guess it's because it was that close, right? I mean, I'm looking at all the numbers. The difference between 20th and first is only 16 seconds.
Yeah, and he was the only athlete that didn't have to race that event. All he had to do was finish the event. So he could kind of just be calm, be cool, be collected, make sure he finished, doesn't miss any lifts, wins the competition, goes to the games. Like he didn't have any. Everyone else had still in a race for him. He didn't.
Okay, he knew that going into it.
Yeah, he'd already done the work.
Even to take first, or he knew he just needed to do that just to make it to the CrossFit Games?
He was pretty far ahead. I think he'd already won first.
It was interesting watching the video and watching the way Noah Olson acted after that event. It gave me this sort of Rich Froning esque feel, like Like he belonged. He congratulated all the people. He had a smile. It was almost like everyone was working out in his gym. He had a really good air about him. Did you feel that from him being on the floor with him?
Yeah, I think he just was getting more and more comfortable over the course of the weekend. I mean, look, man, I think this is his 8th CrossFit Games in a row. He's very consistent. 4 straight top 6 finishes at the games coming into this year. He's very open about it. His goal has been to stand on top of the podium. He knows he's never had a better chance than this year. He just wanted to make it this weekend. He did so really without too much stress. He's established and he knows it. And there were a lot of young guys here who did really well and guys trying to break through. And he was celebrating them and recognizing that they are at different stages in their career that he's been at before.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked like a veteran. He looked like the most mature guy out there. Tell me about Will Morad. I remember covering him many years ago. I watched him, and when I covered him many years ago, he looked like a soccer. I think he was a soccer player, and he looked like a soccer player competing at the CrossFit regionals, and he did very well. But he looked like a soccer player. He looked like you, and. And this year when I looked at him, I almost don't even recognize him. He's got his hair shorter. You know, he's definitely put on a few pounds of muscle. What's his deal? How long has it been since he's competed at this level, and how excited was he? Did you get to talk to him?
I didn't talk to him, but I did talk to Street Warner, who trained with him, and the rumors were true. He was not 100% coming into this weekend. He's been having some back issues, even some nerve stuff in the back. Had to have some kind of like weird spinal fusion, something like right before the quarterfinals, like not 100%. And that's kind of the story of his career. I really think if this guy were like in optimal condition, not injured in any way, that he's potentially like a top 5 guy at the games. He could be that good. The year that he made the top 10, he didn't get to really half because he pulled his string. Like he's got this little. He looked great this weekend. He won event 6 today, the first event of the day, and because so many other people did, it's like kind of a specialty event, a grip and handstand push-up event, bumped down some other guys. Going into the final, he was in a similar position to Cole where he just needed to finish and he was going to make it. He got 18th on the last workout, but he still was like clearly in 4th place. So I'm really happy that he's made it to the games. It's one of those guys where I almost hope that he like backs off his training instead of ramped up his training, because for him, he doesn't need to really get any fitter. He just needs to get more healthy.
Yeah, I thought when he first showed up on the scene, he was next Miko Salo, the guy who comes from soccer, has the super engine, and uses that. How old is Will? 32.
Yeah, so he's getting up there.
Is he doing this? I wonder if he's doing this to prove something to himself.
No, man, I think he loves it. I mean, and even though he's got these little injuries, he's in a good training environment with Tia and Brooke and Alex Smith and Street Horner, and not all of them made the games, but they're going to still train hard and fight. And I'm excited for him. I'm happy he made the games. He seemed really happy. I mean, I think he knew like it was a risk. The back, he didn't know if he'd make it through the weekend, but he did. He was phenomenal. I think the games field is better for him.
Why am I a little bit emotional about Dallin Pepper and Spencer Panchik not making it?
I mean, look,
what am I feeling here?
No, your feelings are justified. If weekend had gone just a little bit different, not just for Dallin and Spencer, but also for Cedric Lapointe, all 3 of those guys could have made the games, and all 3 of those guys would also do just fine at the games. But 5 games veterans took the 5 spots, and sometimes it's just not your time yet. And so for all those guys, I think they had lessons to learn this weekend. They should all be contenders when the last chance qualifier comes around. And, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets one of those 2 spots eventually. But I think those guys have a lot of positives to take away from this weekend. The world now knows Dallin Pepper, who he is, that he's legit, that he can compete with the veterans of the sport. That handstand push-up workout was going to be a challenge for him, and he couldn't overcome it this time. But he's going to be back.
212 pounds, 6 feet tall, 19 years old, and he's already married. I mean, that's a guy not only who's carrying a lot of weight physically, but that's just a lot of weight of life stuff to carry.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with him this weekend. He's a big dude, but he moves really well. He's got an engine, and like I said, I talked to James Sprague, one of his the young guys they're all buddies, and he said that they're all just learning so much this weekend. They all have a really good attitude. I mean, within moments of finding out he didn't make it, he was congratulating the guy who did. And at 19 years old, that's a pretty impressive level of maturity.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think as I hear you talk, the reason why it's a little emotional because they did get a lot of camera time. We do obviously know who Spencer is. He comes from an amazing lineage, and we know the hard work they've put in. And it's like you said, we know there's got to be a better word than deserve, because the 5 guys who are going deserve. But we know
they're capable.
Yeah, they're fully capable, and they put in the work. It's like watching a guy like put in all, dig a hole looking for the prize. The prize is down there, but then someone beat him to it. You know what I mean? He gets down to the bottom where the treasure is, and it's gone. Someone robbed him of it. Even though we saw Spencer and Dallin put in all the work and dig the big hole, but when they got there, shit, someone had already taken the treasure.
Yeah, and it's nice. Just that's the nature of the sport right now. There are more guys that can be competitive at the game. There are games, and that's what we want to be. We want it to be hard to make it, and we want the guys that are to be, worthy of the test. And if that's that we had in the West Coast Classic. I don't know if we had that to this depth or caliber at some of the other regions, but there's a lot of people that are working hard every day to make this dream a reality, and they're not all going to make it when it comes to shove.
Is Cole Sager a CrossFit Games 2021 champion?
I think he's put himself back in the conversation for top 5. I need to take a little bit of time to look at the field, look at how it shakes out, but I think he did better this weekend than most people expected, and to Noah is very poised, under control, appreciated what the weekend was. I think both guys will be big-time threats in Madison.
Why do you say that better than people expected?
Really, I think his lifestyle stuff. The trauma that he went through, having that premature baby, 12 weeks having his kid in the ICU, going through that with his not sure, that's a big stress. And again, he's been training at home in Washington, pretty isolated. So there's just question mark of if he still had the desire and how much that would affect him or weigh on him. So hats off to him, man. He's been putting in the work. It's pretty clear, and he's a good guy. So I'm pretty happy with the result.
Does this sport allow athletes to have momentum?
What do you mean?
Like, is this first important to Cole, like in terms of how he's going to perform at the CrossFit Games, as opposed to if he would have taken 5th, or the fact, or I mean, it's clear, or could it work against him? You know what I mean? Like he's like, okay, I'm at the top of this heap. I mean, it's a concern I have for when we talk to Jason Hopper. Like, is his first place finish going to make him complacent?
The momentum question is perhaps even more relevant because guys have had such a long time since the live competition. So this will be a boost of confidence. I still got it type thing. And we've talked about it before. Strong majority of the game's podium athletes are guys who finish 1, 2, 3, primarily first in their qualifying event to get there. So he's, I think he's in a great spot.
What do you think about Sean Sweeney? Is it any surprise there?
I'm not that surprised by him. He's very fun guy. He wears his hat. He makes jokes. The crowd even have fun at events, like, do a little pump up with his arms, approaching a heavy lift, but he's still focused and he executes. This is his 4th. He's not the biggest shock in any event, but he's just regularly over to the weekend. He'll be a middle guy at the game, but again, it's a guy that I think the games field is better with because of the entertainment value and the fact that he can hold his own. He's a very respectable, well-rounded athlete.
There was a guy there at the game, at the event this weekend, the West Coast Classic at the semifinal. I think his name was Sadin Suvanasi. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Saran Suvanasa, yeah.
And, if you sum him up in one word, he's a dork. And he I saw, and I mean that in the kindest way possible. I saw Sweeney at one time when they crossed the finish line. Suvanasi was bent over. You know how they bend when they're exhausted and they finish the finish line and they're standing and they bend over like the crowd barrier. And Sweeney was paddling his ass, like playing the drums on his butt. And Suvanasi was so tired he couldn't even turn around. Tell me about this guy. It's fascinating. He's only 22.
Sorry?
Yeah, is he? Did you talk to him? Is he a computer? He's a computer engineer. I mean, what's going on with this guy? By the way, he doesn't look like he's 22. He looked like he could be in the Masters. He looks like a mature man.
Mike Kozlat knows him from he just trains in a similar area and told me he's pretty good.
Another dork. That's perfect. Yeah, I get it. I got it.
You know, he told me he thought he'd do better this weekend than he did, but yeah, I mean that's just what I'm talking about. He's another young guy. He's pretty unassuming in his stature and look very capable. He had some good performances. He struggled with a couple of the I think heavier barbells might have held him back a little bit in some of the high skill stuff, but there's a lot of guys in that 22, 23, 24 age range that are going to, over the next 2 to 3 years, going to get better and better. And I think he could be one of those guys.
I'd love to get him on the podcast. I got to get into that peanut of his, that giant brain of his. When we reviewed this group of people in the beginning, when we looked at the leaderboard a few days ago, Tyler Toussaint was at the very top of the leaderboard, and now today that the workouts are complete, my boy's all the way in 30th. What happened to Tyler?
Nothing. He was at the top because he was the last one to register, and he was the last one to register because he earned a backfill invitation to be able to compete here. So he's at the tail end of his career. Even making the semifinals is a good accomplishment for him at this point. But you know, just to call it like it is, it's probably the last time we'll see him at a semifinal, which is totally fine. You know, like I said, the sport's getting younger, better, and deeper. So, you know, he did everything he could. He's just not where he was relative to the field a few years ago.
And look how consistent his workouts are: 29th, 25th, 21st, 29th, 24th, 21st, and they're all in the 20th. I mean, hats off to him for that. Let's see. Oh man, if he would have just done 2 places better in that final workout, he could at least say he beat Cole Sager. I think you froze on me. And was Jake Berman the young man that you were like, hey, this could be the dark horse in the group?
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a breakout competition for him. He basically told me he was going toe-to-toe with Noah in a lot of these workouts. The heavy barbell and the squat clean, and the heavy snatches at the start of the weekend were workouts that I thought might be tough for him. But everything else, I thought he'd be better on than he was. He still had a great, I don't know if it was the second place in the first event today. So
third.
Third, yeah. He won his heat, third in the event. I still think he's got a ton of potential. He's in a great training environment. I think he's still on the ascendancy. Maybe he just needs another year. He was the last one off the Echo bike in that workout, which is a little bit of a concern for me. When I did the Echo bike against Matt, I was a similar size. Like the power, significantly different. So stuff he can definitely work on. I don't think this is a total loss of a week for him, but yeah, he wasn't as good as I thought he would be.
And he's only 25. Just so you guys know, Brian just finished at the West Coast Classic, being on the floor there and covering for the news outlets that he works for. And I was out running the mile with my kid, and so I start harassing him. Are we going to do a podcast? And he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. This is basically like Trivial Pursuit for Brian. And we don't talk ahead of the podcast, and I just have the list of people in front of me. So I just bomb him with questions. So what you're seeing is sort of a remarkable encyclopedia that is Brian Friend at Brian Friend CrossFit. Please follow him and get him past the 13 followers mark. So Cole Sager, Noah Olson, Sean Sweeney, Will Morad, Brandon Luckett. Brandon Luckett looked very emotional when they called his 5th place.
Yeah, because he had a pretty nasty elbow injury in the first workout of the weekend on the heavy snatch. He said that his elbow never felt comfortable in the workout the rest of the weekend. he was almost overwhelmed. He said the only feeling I could feel at the end was gratitude that I was able to make it through this weekend and make it back to the CrossFit Games despite that injury. So similarly to Will, he needs his priority in the next 5-6 weeks needs to be on getting as healthy as possible. He's an extremely good, capable athlete, and if he's healthy, obviously games will be a lot more enjoyable for him.
When you say he hurt his elbow, are there medical staff on the premises at the West Coast Classic? And do they look at his elbow? How does that work? And does he have to get signed off once he shows that he has the injury, or is it all up to him, the athlete?
No, there's definitely a conversation. He knew immediately. He bailed on the barbell, grabbed his elbow. He didn't attempt any more snatches. They took him off the floor, evaluated him. Sure, he talked to him and his coach and the medical staff. He was cleared to continue to participate. It's definitely a risk, but sometimes in sports you have to take that risk. And obviously he was healthy enough to see the weekend through. And I think it was a really good fight back from that. I think it's a big testament to him, his confidence and ability to be able to overcome a challenge like that and qualify. Like you said, it was a good field. The guys behind him are pretty good and really wanted that spot, but he was able to do enough to.
In the second to last event, the push-pull 2.0, is that the event with the sled with the wheels?
Yeah, the torquing.
Okay, so I have two questions for you. One, we'll stick with Brandon Luckett. No, sorry. We'll get to that event in a second. What was regional final number 17, 2017? Because in that event, he beat Cole Sager, and we're talking about Brandon Luckett. And I have to imagine that at least also would be something that he can kind of get his head wrapped around and have some momentum, being like, oh shit, if I can beat this guy in one event, he's human.
This was the last event 7, right?
No, it's called Regional Final 17.
It was event 5, so it was the last one on Saturday.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. He was in the second heat at that point, so it's one of those situations where he wants to make the final heat for the last day, so he just kind of sent it. He was, the D ball was the last movement there, and he just held onto it the whole time. I don't think the wrist or elbow was too much of a factor because it was in that bent position, not necessarily extension, and I'm held up in the final heat and ultimately propelled him into the final heat where he was able to then compete against the guys he knew he needed to beat to get that game spot.
Do you remember what the movements were in that one? I heard you say D-ball. Go ahead.
30 calorie bike, 20 burpee box jump over, 10 D-ball cleans with 150 pound D-ball.
Okay, and that is something that Cole would be good at, and he did take second place, only 3 or 4 seconds behind him. The final question before we move to the women, unless you have anything to say, and this kind of covers men and women. When I watch that push-pull event with whatever you call that thing, that sled, I have some serious concerns that the more energy, and maybe I hope you're going to tell me how wrong I am, that the more energy you put into that thing, the heavier it gets, and so that there's a sweet spot on it, so you're not rewarded for pushing harder, and that would really bum me out if that's the truth.
Yeah, this is there's different competitions now. There's definitely a pro and a con here. So the reason that they're trying it out, I think, is because of the controversies in the past or supposed controversies in the past with variations in the sled on different surfaces. This is meant, the experiment is this a more uniform method of testing the ability to basically move an object that's touching the ground over a distance. And I think it was basically a fail because, yes, if you're better at pushing a sled, you can make up ground on people that are not as good at pushing a sled. But with this one, like you said, your observation is right. Exerting more force doesn't gain you an advantage on that. If you watch, it's really marginal the amount of ground you can make up or lose on that part of any of those work. And so the other movements are basically where the workouts.
Yeah, that I have to think that someone's going to come on here and unfuck us and tell us that we're wrong. Because if that is the case, I don't even know how you let an apparatus like that into the games where they are not rewarded for for putting in more effort. It defeats the whole purpose of finding the fittest person. I mean, I don't see any upside of it more uniformly than just have them do 100 jumping jacks then. I mean, I know you want that push-pull stimulus, but it should always be rewarded for the hardest worker. This isn't it shouldn't be that much of an IQ test or a gaming piece that you have to try to find the sweet spot on that and know that no matter how much harder you push, it's not giving you the reward for it.
Yeah, it reminds me of the snail, it was called, from the climbing snail events that were the 2016 games, where it was like that big circular thing, and you just kind of had to figure out on the fly where to push it, and you push too high or too low or too hard or too soft, and it was like rolling backwards and not getting momentum.
Did it have water in it? Is that why?
I'm not sure what we tried it, but we haven't implemented since. And I think that's probably for the same reason, is it wasn't ultimately the test of fitness that we want. It was more of the test of, can you navigate this kind of weird object better?
Yeah, they should just, I would rather see a shopping cart filled with 40 bottles of Jack Daniels and 6 boxes of condoms and just make it uniform across the board. You know what I mean? Sure. I can't get my head wrapped around this one. Is there anything else you want to say about the men before we move on to the women here?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Bethany Shadburn, I would see her at the games when I used to cover the games. I'm crazy impressed. Should I be crazy impressed?
Definitely. Almost everyone was picking Carrie Pierce to win this. If anyone was willing to pick anyone else, they would probably have taken Danielle Brandon. And that's nothing against Bethany Shadburn. It's just, it seemed like those two girls were better. It was a small margin in the end between Carrie and Bethany, but overall I was most impressed with her. Her movement quality, the poise, but also like attacking workouts a little differently. It looked like she was going for it on some workouts. She managed the ruck run better than anyone else. She also said that she overcame some challenges. Like she said, GHD sit-ups have always been a sticking point for her in a workout before, and she did better on that set of 80 GHD sit-ups in the Triple G than she's ever done. I think Bethany Shadburn's the best version of her she's ever been. I was talking to her boyfriend at the end of the competition. He said she's prioritized everything outside of the gym more this year than she ever has, sleep and nutrition. They're in a really good place together, and you know as well as anyone that when you have a really solid support system at home, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is, that goes a long way. And I think that for her, all those external factors have in addition to obviously just being super fit, have kind of come all together at the right time. So I think she's a top 10 threat at the games, and in the conversation for fittest American woman at the games. I'm pretty excited after this weekend to see how good she can be.
Where does she train, Brian?
She trains here in Las Vegas with Carrie Pierce and Danielle Brandon. Justin Kotler's coaching all of them. It's called CrossFit Culmination. Their like training methodology is known as Underdog Athletics. They also have two of the guys who are in the competition here, Tola Moraquino and Matt DeLugos. Neither of them made the games or last chance qualifier. Their Tola was one spot out. And it's a good training environment. I don't know that team collaborative training environment is right for every athlete, but for those three girls, I feel like they're all getting better by training together, at least for now.
What about Danny Spiegel? Is she part of that group?
No, Danny Spiegel moved out to Invictus CrossFit this year, and it feels like it's a good.
That's the San Diego. That's the San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay.
CJ Martin, Tino Martinez, and that crew. Seems like a really good fit. She had she's always got a couple, kind of like Will Morad. Her shoulder, she had a pretty bad shoulder injury that'll probably never be 100% again. She has some problems with her feet that sometimes bother her, but she's phenomenal as an athlete. I mean, she's always been very strong. She's figured out the gymnastics, and it's just like that long monostructural cardio is still a hole for her. But as we saw with the ruck run, like she took a basically last place finish there and still finished fourth on the weekend. So she's the type of girl in Madison that will have a couple bad events, but she always has the potential to win a workout too if it's the right combination of stuff.
When have you seen? You saw her in person? Does she look big in person? Are you like, wow, that's a solid woman? Yeah. She's relative to the other girls on the field, like her legs are just big and strong, but she like I said, she was pretty good on the strict deficit handstand push-ups. She's phenomenal at handstand walking. She was able to do the muscle ups just as well as the other girls. So
for a girl of her size, she is very good at the bodyweight stuff.
It says she's listed here at 168 pounds. You can't really tell because she's so shredded when you watch her on TV. But will she be the biggest girl in the field, the heaviest girl in the field at the CrossFit Games in the individual competition?
She might be. She'll be up there for sure. I'm trying to think. I think that Laura Horvath, but maybe not. Maybe a little bit lighter than her. Danielle Brandon, probably like 10 pounds lighter. She
Almost 20 pounds lighter. 150.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 150.
Yeah, so she probably is. I'm just trying to think through the field. I mean, Kara's got some big legs, but she's a lot shorter, so she probably will be.
I think the heaviest girl I ever heard competing at the CrossFit Games, and I'm sure there's been heavier, was Emily Abbott, and I think she was 165.
Yeah, when you're talking about that, the average woman at the games is usually about 145, and you're over 20 pounds heavier than that. It's obviously a huge outlier, and you're probably right about that. She'll most likely be the heaviest girl there, but weight to skill ratio and body weight stuff, that means she might be one of the best.
How do these veterans, Bethany Shadburn, Carrie Pierce, and I don't know if I would call Danielle Brandon a veteran. Would you call her a veteran?
She's made the game. This is her third time making the games, but 2 years ago, she actually finished 11th after the cut, so she didn't get to do the last half of the competition because.
Okay, so she's been as an individual. It's not as a team.
Hopefully this year she'll get all of and then kind of our first real glimpse we can look at with a little test.
Okay, I apologize for not calling her a veteran. What's the mood like with these three? On camera, they appear to all be close, but we obviously know that to win the games, you have to be a fierce competitor, and there has to be a component of selfishness. Did you anything that showed that there's tension between these three?
No, I don't think so. It's a kind of a unique situation. When they were on the competition floor, I mean, there were a couple of events where one of them or two of them were going at it, and they clearly wanted to beat the other girl. But as soon as the competition was over, they were happy for each other. If it comes down to it at the games and it's like for a podium spot or a little bit more money's on the line, we'll see. But at least for this weekend, their goal was to sweep the podium, and they did that. And I kind of felt like they were doing it together. So they were competing, but they were also supporting each other.
When you see their ages, you have Bethany Shadburn at 27, Carrie Pierce at 32, and Danielle Brandon age 25. Did you notice any recovery issues? And then the second part to the question is that age going to play a role at the games where there might be 13 or 14 events?
I don't think so. I think that they can all handle the volume of the games.
And then let's go down to fifth place. You got a visitor to your room? Take 5, everyone. Listen, just chill. Brian's doing his thing. Without Brian, there's no show, and he's apparently talking to someone right now. I think they're ordering room service. What did you order? Did you order a hamburger?
Yeah, hamburger and a beer. It's been a long weekend.
Reagan Huckabee, 34 years old. How many times has she been to the games? She looked amazing, like physically amazing. Tell me about her.
Fourth time as an individual to the game. She's also been part of Invictus's team 2 years ago. And it's one of these situations, like so many people in the sport now, this is all they're focusing on. She's got a lot of other distractions. She's got 2 young kids at home. And you know how big of a responsibility and how much time that can take. But she's making it work. You are exactly right. She looked just as good in person as it sounds like she looked from your perspective. It wasn't easy for her. She got the last spot. She needed to perform on the last workout really well. And honestly, if Alexis Raptis had hit the last barbell, she would have made it instead of Reagan. But that's one of those situations where, in a race like that, poise pays off. She hit the bar. The 23-year-old would-be games rookie did not, and so she's going.
So yeah, I see Alexis Raptis. She's probably had a birthday since this. They got her at 22 here. So what you're saying to me is she approached that last bar, she went for it, and she failed the lift. How many seconds do you think she lost?
So she's one of the training think tank crew. I talked to Max Alhaj about it. He said 30 seconds. But he also said that in the long run for her career, he actually thinks that was better for her. He's, we all know that all the greats have had their setbacks at one point or another, and this is one of those moments where she was still in good spirits. This was a good weekend for her. It's always going to be a little bittersweet because she could have made it, but she'll learn from that. She was incredible on the push-pull event. As far as I saw, she was the only girl to do all 4 sets of the strict deficit handstand push-ups unbroken, and that gave her, the points she needed to have that opportunity in the last event. And sometimes that's the margins in this sport. One lift, one risk, and you miss it, and you're out.
So Brian just said that Alexis Raptis, who took 6th place, who will be going to the last chance qualifier, did amazing in the push-pull event. That was the second to last event, and he's not joking. She got 9:22. And to give you an idea of how dominant of the performance that is, Bethany Shadburn got 9:40, Carrie Pierce got 10:10, Daniel Brandon got 10:29, Danny Spiegel got 11:27. Why didn't Danny Spiegel do better at that?
I think she did great. That was the workout with over 40 strict deficit handstand push-ups.
Okay.
90 toes to bar. We've already talked about she's the heaviest girl on the field. So to take, was it 5th place or 6th place in that workout at that weight is actually maybe the most impressive performance of the group.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but maybe she could have done even better if she was rewarded. She should have been rewarded when doing the pushing and pulling for her size that she had to deal with while doing toes to bar and deficit handstand push-ups. And so that could have been a great workout, but we'll still wait for people.
That is a valid point. We've talked about it before with guys like Fikowski. Remember in that workout in 2016, they did all that monostructural work. They got to the sled pull. It was the rope chipper on Sunday, and he was able to pull that sled better than anyone else and win the workout. Dallin Pepper told me the same thing. I need to make up some time on the torque tank, but you couldn't make up any time on the torque tank.
Yeah, that's so. A simpleton like me can't see that and figure that out and be right. Someone's going to have to come in the comments in YouTube and explain to us that we're wrong, that machine actually, there is a way to make it seem fair. The veteran and big name, maybe the most followers in the bunch on Instagram, is Lauren Fisher, taking 13th place. How was she after? Was she emotional? Was she happy that at least she just showed up? What's the deal here?
I think that she had a pretty, I'm not sure how serious it was, but every event her elbow was wrapped tighter and tighter, more and more bandaging on it. So she might have just been injured. She seemed to be in great spirits after the competition. She was there taking pictures with people from Training Think Tank who she's been training with. She still actually has a good relationship with the people at Invictus. I wasn't sure if that was ended on a bad note or not. So there were a lot of people that here this weekend that are friends of hers and old training partners, because both Invictus teams qualified 1st and 2nd. Danny Spiegel and Reagan Huckabee have ties with Invictus. So she was celebrating with all the people that she knows and has known and has been training with. She's been training with Noah a little bit. So she was in good spirits. I think she had maybe a little bit of an injury, knew she wasn't going to be able to qualify with that, but still gave it everything she had, was happy to be competing, and she definitely wasn't in a bad mood at the end of the weekend.
Was her amazing boyfriend there?
Rasmus Anderson was here. He had a really impressive beard, and he was just walking around, hanging out.
Such a cool dude. Such a cool dude. I've enjoyed every interaction with him. I see this name on here. Maybe a lot of people don't know. Took 9th place. I think maybe her name's Allison Scuds. I know her because I used to see her years ago at the ranch and other places testing games workouts for the Dave Castro. Are you? And I think she's been on the demo team before, but I never pictured her for some reason doing this well. Are you surprised? 9th place. I mean, she's amazing. Don't get me wrong.
No, she's very good at the things she's very good at. But this week, what she showed me, especially in that last workout, it was really close. So you can tell me what place she finished in it.
8th.
she was able to move a heavy barbell, that heavy barbell for the squat cleans, better than I've ever seen her do before. And she did really well on the workout this morning also, which I thought she'd do well on that one with the body weight stuff. Ninth place was better than I thought she'd do. I think I had her projected around 15th. She finished strong on the weekend, whereas in other competitions in the past, she's kind of tailed off towards the end of weekends. So I'm kind of curious now. I mean, I didn't really think she ever had a chance to make the games, but if she's getting stronger and better with a heavy barbell, maybe she can do it in a year or two.
This last year on her Instagram, I noticed she's putting a ton of time, and maybe she's always done it and just showing it to us for the first time, but it looks like she's putting a ton of time into her mental game and her recovery game. You're seeing her do more like yoga type stuff and meditation and basically, getting the other stuff besides the physical in line. I wonder how much that played a role.
Yeah, and this seems to be a pattern. A lot of the athletes that are investing more in the off season, out of the gym stuff is starting to pay off. And one of the lines that always sticks out to me when I first talked to Josh Bridges with you, 2018 regionals, he said, "I've spent more time and more money on body work, on the stuff outside of the gym than anything else in my career." He was ahead of the game on that, and maybe that's why he was an outlier at the games for so many years, a guy his size doing that well. But if more athletes are figuring that out and people are talking about it and advertising it and then having performances like Bethany Shadburn's, like Allison Scudds, who are, maybe outperforming what people would expect from them, you have to assume that more and more people are going to start doing that. And that just means that people are going to have to start looking for the edge in different places yet again.
Carrie Pierce, second place, the smallest woman in the top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8, top 9.
She's got to be similar to Allison Scudds.
Scudds is 153, 140, and Carrie's listed here at 5'3", 139. So you're right. And she looked like a Ferrari. I mean, her physique, the way she moves. I mean, her finishes first, fourth, second, fifth, third, seventh. I mean, that's a first place winning performance, right? Like if I didn't show you Bethany Shad, if I would have told you before this event started, hey, Carrie Pierce is gonna get first, fourth, second, fifth, third, seventh, you'd be like, yep, she's probably gonna win it, right?
100%. Yeah, that will win a semifinal more often than not.
So is her size becoming a factor?
Like a disadvantage?
Yeah.
I don't think so. You said she was 5'3", 140, basically?
Yeah, 5'3", 139. She's listed here.
I think that's pretty close to what Tia-Clair Toomey is.
Okay. And did you have her? I thought when we first started talking about this women's event, you actually didn't have her picked for first place. How can that be?
No, I did. I had Carrie, Danielle, Bethany as the top 3.
Okay. So Carrie's still a serious podium threat at the games.
Yeah, and look, we're talking about Bethany's potential, but the thing is, Carrie's, I think 4 straight finishes inside the top 10 at the games. She was on the podium last year. She's been fittest in the U.S. several years. It's very hard to make a case against her as the fittest American ever. So, we have to see Bethany and Danielle and Haley Adams and Brooke Wells and Amanda Barnhart, all these other American women, beat her at the games. And until they do, she's kind of still the woman to beat, even though she didn't win this weekend.
What an amazing accolade. And I think you're right. The fittest American woman ever.
I mean, it depends how much you value winning versus longevity. Because Chris Clever has been on the podium twice. She's won the games in 2010. She had, I think, 4 straight or 4 out of 5 top 5 finishes in her 5-year career. But it's really rare to find someone who's had 5 straight top 10s. I think there's only like 5 women in the history of the sport who've done that, and Carrie's one of them. So, she's very consistent. She's very good. I think she's getting close to the end of her career, but she's obviously still competitive. And it'll be fun to see if she can, continue that streak of top 10 finishes, of being the best American woman. My kind of gut feeling is that she'll rescind that title this year, but I don't actually know to who, because there's a lot of girls that are going to be coming for it.
Danielle Brandon, or of all the women you've seen in the United States, who's most likely, do you think? And is it Danielle Brandon who will eventually take the throne from Tia? Is there anyone in this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just go big. 2024.
Wow. The only way to answer this is Tia going to still be competing in 3 years? You know, Fraser was tired of competing after last year, and then his team kind of said, "Come on, man, go for one more," and he did. But he's so happy in retirement now. Tia and Matt are still close, and she sees how much he's enjoying time away. It seems like Shane and Tia are still enjoying competing, and as long as they're still enjoying competing, she's only 26, 27.
Wow.
I don't know that anyone will be able to beat her even by 2024. But if you're forcing me to pick someone, I think that Haley Adams, Danielle Brandon, and Mallory O'Brien are possibly the three best candidates.
What do you see in Danielle Brandon that makes you put her with that group?
I just still kind of feel like her skills are raw, and her mental approach to live competition is not fully developed the way that some of the other girls are.
Her glass ceiling's higher away. It's not only how good she is now, but you're like, wow, there's a lot of areas you can improve. Holy cow, you're going to be amazing.
Yeah, we've mentioned how significant the mental aspect of high-level competition can be in this sport. She did the Mayhem Classic, but it was not a super deep field. She finished third behind Tia Claire Toomey and Christy Aramo. She competed the last 2 years at the games, but she only got to do half of the test, really. So she hasn't had a lot of live competition experience at the highest level. So this was a great weekend for her to learn some of those lessons. This games will be a great opportunity for her to, improve upon those skills, maybe learn a couple other things. And if you're looking at 2-3 years down the road, if she's motivated, has all this incredible physical potential. I mean, she was head and shoulders ahead of the field in that last event. There was only a 2-minute event. She was the only one who could calmly look around, compose herself, lift the bar, and walk across the finish line with a commanding event win. She also had 2 second-place finishes, 2 fourth-place finishes. That's pretty good against this field. So I think you said it well. She's got a higher ceiling than some of the other ladies.
What an incredible sport to follow. I'm just to see Bethany Shadburn, Carrie Pierce, Danielle Brandon, Danny Spiegel, Reagan Huckabee all lined up. These just thoroughbreds of the highest caliber. Like, you see all the years of work that they've put in, and then they lift the gate up and go. Tell me about the energy in this venue. Because I know the Granite Games were a little thin in the crowd, although the viewership numbers I think were record setting in terms of the internet. What was it like being there? Did the crowd really? I mean, was it back to like, holy shit, these are the five of the top 100 fittest women in the world, and we're in a room with them? Like, did you feel that? Like, everyone knew, and the place was exploding?
I don't think we're back to the crowd capacity and noise and energy that we had in like the last years of regionals and in the sanctionals when they were still able to happen. But I think that part of that is still just people being a little bit apprehensive coming out of this last year of uncertainty. And but this venue has a lot of potential. I don't know if we'll ever use it again, but I hope we do, because if those seats were full, this would be a really, really energized environment to have a semifinal.
I'm not going to get into too much of the politics. I'm not going to get into it at all. How was the event run? Who was there? Did you see Dave? Did you see Rosa? Did you talk to Matt O'Keefe? Any of that stuff? We'll circle back on that, talk about how the commentating was. I can chime in about what it looked like from watching from home. So I guess maybe tomorrow we can do a show on that, and maybe we can get Josh Bridges on to chime in with us. How about we just cruise over, if that's okay with you, over to the Atlas Games?
I would love that.
Okay, let's do it. Do you want to start with men or women?
Man, I can't wait.
Okay, let's do the men. You got Patrick Vellner. This is a virtual competition, which makes me even weird to call it the Atlas Games. Anything that's virtual just... It seems pointless to even have a title. It should be like Virtual 1 or Virtual 5. But Patrick Vellner, Jeffrey Adler, Samuel Cornoyer in third place, Alex
Vigneault
in third place and Brent Fikowski in fifth place, and those are the guys who are going to the CrossFit Games unless this leaderboard changes. Do we know? And it still could change. Is that true?
It could change. There was a change on the women's leaderboard after the original publication, but it didn't affect any games positions. It just had a slight change in the order. I've been...
Whoa, what's that mean? Didn't change positions, but change in order? What does that mean?
Change the qualifiers.
Okay.
Bump someone out of the top 5. People within the top 5 shuffled around a little bit. But on the men's side, that was the original 5 that were posted in that order with the same points they currently have, and nothing's changed yet. And I am praying that it doesn't change for multiple reasons. Obviously, we don't want to have the same problem as last week, but additionally, this is a really good group of 5 very, very capable Canadian men that are going to be serious contenders at the games, all 5 of them.
I mean, you have Patrick Vellner's winning the games, don't you?
I think he's the guy to beat this year. I do.
Okay, and we'll let you change that, Brian. I know you're very serious about your picks, but as of right now, if I put a gun to your head or I told you had to pick right now, would Vellner be at the top?
Yeah, and unless he is publicly attending the games injured, I'm probably not going to change that.
Okay, and then let's just skip right down to Brent Fikowski. He 19th in the first event, 12th in the second event, 10th in the third workout. At that point, are you thinking, holy shit, the great Brent Fikowski's not making it?
Just after day 1, I told you this morning, just after the second event, I was like, man, he needed to do better on that event to make it. So yeah, I didn't think he'd make it. I said that earlier, and despite having said that, I think I said I hoped he would make it, and I am absolutely ecstatic that he did. I don't feel bad at all predicting that he wouldn't, given the last 2 events. He said, he put it on his Instagram. He said, I went for it in the last event. 225 on Gretel for a guy that size. That is incredible. He earned that spot. He deserves that spot. I feel comfortable saying that. And the games is, I've said about some other guys, but more so than any other athlete who had to go through this season to get there the way he did, the games is going to be so much better with him as a part of it.
He is an enormous man at 6'2", 217 pounds, and that's like with no body fat on the guy. But isn't this indicative of the Brent Fikowski we know to really do well at the end of an event? He got a first, and a fourth. Haven't we seen him do that before? Isn't he of all the athletes who have gamesmanship, doesn't he seem to be at the top of the heap when it comes to events?
Yeah, and he is, he's extremely methodical in every aspect of his life. He's made it very public. I gave up my other job. I gave up a lot of things. I am singularly focused on making the games and winning the games. He knew that this would be a challenge for him. I talked to him on the phone, and he said, man, on the virtual competition against these guys, he knows how good these guys are. Even the guys that are just on the outside are very good. He knew that he had the potential to do it, but he'd have to execute well. I talked to Vellner today also. The 2 of them apparently had a conversation last night. Vellner gave him a little pep talk. I don't know if it had any influence on Brett's performance today or not, but he did exactly what he needed at the end of the weekend. He's done it before. The last time there was a West Coast Regional, he beat Cole Sager by 2 points, having a similar excellent performance in the tail end of the competition. I feel relieved that he made it. I can't imagine how he feels, and I think we should try to talk to him. I really do, because I think it's going to be, I think he's, based on what he texted me, I think he's got the story of this weekend for him could be pretty cool to hear about. Okay,
I'm going to text the Matt Souza now, the producer. Can you reach out to Fikowski? What a great name. I feel like talking to Brent would be, I can't even remember ever talking to him at the games, to be honest. Maybe like just a few words here and there. I feel like we would be an odd mix in a room. Like if me and him had to like sail around the world together in a boat, it would be really a trip. So he makes the games, and I know I suspect he believes he can always win the games, because that's his goal. Of all the people, of anyone who's probably ever taken 5th place, he probably still has his eye on the prize. Would you say that's true? He's not like, I want to get on the podium. He's like, I want to win the games, dude.
he is the only person in the field at the games who's beaten Pat Vellner in a live competition in the last 5 years.
Wow. Okay. And he knows that. He knows all that shit.
Yeah, I told him.
Tell me how great Patrick Vellner is. You were saying some stuff to me the other day that was kind of blowing my brain.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's it right there. I mean, we all know that Fraser is basically unstoppable. He hasn't lost a live competition since the 2015 games, and outside of Fraser, Vellner has beaten every other competitor in every other live competition other than, I should say, the caveat is the 2019 CrossFit Games. I don't want to talk about that and why I don't consider it's just that statistic alone just proves my point. That is an outlier relative to his performance over a 5-year period of time. Pat's got it all.
What you're saying is the not necessarily the programming, but the structure of the games didn't bring. Although you would agree it crowned the fittest, it didn't sift out the best guys altogether like you would expect. Like the first used a cauldron that has big holes and then a little smaller holes, and you're saying that it wasn't done properly, and that's why Patrick didn't go up, but he should have gone up.
The total tests, the total 12 tests that they did to make up the CrossFit Games were a good, well-programmed, balanced test. Not all the athletes got to take the test. The scoring wasn't the same on every event. And those things prevented the leaderboard from representing the totality of this is the first, second, third, fourth, 8th, 12th, 10th, 15th fittest guy. He still got the fittest because Fraser was the fittest and he did win. But I think if there were 40 athletes in the field that year, they'd all been able to do all 12 tests. Vellner would have been on the podium.
Okay, and you're not making excuses for Patrick, but in the end, what you're saying is that he's always been, as long as Matt's been there, Patrick Vellner has clearly always been the second best dude.
Yeah, that's what the numbers say.
You sound like a news reporter at CNN. No, they don't do numbers. Sorry, they don't do numbers. You would have said that's what my heart feels like. Jeffrey Adler, was he was in the games last year, correct?
Yeah, he's fifth. Made the top 5. I think he snuck into the 5th spot, just edging out Chandler Smith, Yonakoski, BKG, and Pat Vellner.
So the only 2 people, and when I say the games, I'm talking about what happened at the ranch.
Right.
So the only 2 people going back to the games this year are Noah and Jeffrey Adler. Oh, no. Was Medeiros. Cole there? Medeiros. Okay, so that's good.
That's the 5. The other one retired, and the other one had an illness.
Right. Okay. I'm digging it. The other one was Sam Quant, and the one that retired was Matthew.
Mateo or something.
Yeah, Mateo Fraser. And then tell me about the, Samuel. I can't say his last name. Samuel. Do I know him?
Yeah, Samuel Cormier. I don't know if you'll know him or not. I think he was 10th last year at the games in the first stage. He's been training with Rich this past month or so. He's been following Rich's programming for longer than that. He's very strong, very good at gymnastics. He's developing his engine. I think that if, once we get closer to the games and have a chance to evaluate the games field, that he's one of those guys that you could call a dark horse to potentially make some big moves at the games.
Last year, he was 12th overall in the world. Okay. In 2019, he was 9th. And in 2018, he was 168. So in his 2018 to 19 season, he made an enormous jump.
That was in the Open.
Oh, was that in the Open?
I think so.
I'm just looking at overall. I'm just looking at whatever they have here in the stats overall rank worldwide. Oh, you're right. He's only been to the game. I apologize. You're right. Although those are still impressive. He's only been to the games in 2019.
And was he 10th?
35th.
Wait. He was there last year.
He was?
The game site isn't up to date on it.
Oh, I love it. I'm telling you, Brian will big dick anyone, even if it's on accident. He doesn't even mean to big dick the game's website, and he's big dicking it. Will he be at that training camp that Jason Hopper is hoping / will happen at Rich's Empire, at the Mayhem Empire prior to the games, the weeks before the games?
I think that he'll be there training from now until the games because it doesn't make any sense to go back to Canada.
Okay. I mean, I guess I was gonna say unless you have a wife and kids,
No,
but
unless you're
right.
going to be forced to quarantine in a hotel that you can't choose a location of for 2 weeks.
Okay. And I remember Alex popping up onto the scene. I want to say it was in Albany one year.
Alex Vigno.
Yeah, and he was, I think, supposed to win it, and something happened. I want to say maybe he got injured.
So this was in 2000. It was either, well, he was, I think he placed in the top 10 of the games in 2016.
Okay.
And then the next 2 years, he had a couple of setbacks. Remember, he was sick in 2018 with like that stomach thing. You went and
Okay.
talked to him. He was like throwing up in the garbage.
Oh,
can. They were
that's
there
right.
together.
That's the guy. Yeah. That was at the regional. He was barfing.
Yeah.
He was wrecked, and some of the other people were like coming around him, and yeah. That was tragic.
Yeah. So and then he's a police officer. He had a kid within the past 12 or 15 months. He's been training at home, and like he often posts little videos where he's training, and his like kid and wife are there in the garage watching him train. And I wasn't sure if he would have. I think I projected him to be in the last chance qualifier position, but I knew that he would have a potential if he's healthy. If he's healthy, he's competitive. I mean, he's got a big, well-rounded capacity. I would say of the 5 guys who made it from Canada, I'll probably end up ranking him the lowest at the games. But this is one of those semifinals where all 5 guys could be in the top half of the games field.
Wow. Is there anyone in this list? I see Paul Tremblay, been around forever, great
Tell me who
guy.
the guys 6 through 9 are, because those
I
guys
see
will
Pete
all go to
Shaw.
LCQ.
Oh, they will go to the last chance qualifier, 6 through 9.
Yeah.
Okay, is that normal?
Usually you get 3 spots. They had, if you go all the way to the bottom, there's a guy who withdrew, and then there's a guy from a different country other than Canada that has a name that you probably can't say. And so
Yeah, there's 2 guys. There's 2 guys with some flags I don't recognize. One is oh shit, I lost it.
Well, these guys are basically what I call displaced athletes who could not travel to their semifinal.
Okay.
So they were able to compete. They were like placed in a virtual semifinal, and that was like closer to where they lived, and they were able to compete in that. But because of that, it opened up an extra last chance qualifier spot.
Okay, yeah, because there's 31 guys here. There's a guy named Tafadzawa Mushandu from Zimbabwe. Dude, I said that perfect. What are you laughing at? And Richard Wobolt from South Africa. So 2 African guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's working. The South African guy's doing his programming. Looks like CrossFit Invictus Back Bay. No need. They're lucky we talked about them. Back up to 6 through 9, like you asked. Tyler Christoffel, Cole Grieshaber, Alexander Caron, Phil Toon. God, I love that name, Phil Toon. And number 10, Logan Collins.
So Logan Collins won't advance to the last chance qualifier. This is but the guys who did. So Alexander Caron, I actually got 4 of the 5 in the exact position correct in this one. I had Vellner, Adler, Cornway, Caron, Fikowski. It ended up being Vigneault, Fikowski.
Okay.
Caron had a big penalty on workout number 2. I haven't done the calculations, but that might have single-handedly kept him out. So he's a guy, like some of the guys from West Coast Classic, that will have a good chance in the online qualifier, because he's had some really, if you pull up his games profile and see his open finishes, and they won't have the quarterfinal finish on there. But he's very good in the online competition, and he's just very good in general. So he's he's probably one of my top picks to make the last chance qualifier, to advance from it. And the other guy that I really like there is Cole Grayshaber. He's actually really good friends with Dallin Pepper, and he's just about the same size as him. I think he's a little older, maybe 20 or 21, but he's probably, I bet his games profile says he's 6'1", 210, and he's a beast too.
Yeah, 6 foot, 206. You said, I want to go back to Caron. This, when you see his numbers, it's just crazy. This guy took 6th in the Worldwide Open in 2018. I mean, at that moment, he's basically the 6th fittest man in the world. And it's I know you don't like that, probably a lot of people don't, but I put a lot of weight on the Open. I think the Open's amazing.
Well, and the Open is in general, it's a pretty good predictor for the rest of the season. Like, there's some guys that are outliers that'll have a great Open and then disappear, but a lot of the guys, when you look at top 10 at the games and you look back, they did very well in the Open too.
And he's been hitting the Open now for 7 years. Okay, so and to kind of prove your point a little bit more here, about Carone and his. What did he get the penalty for?
Failure to extend his arms and the shoulder to overhead. He actually posted a couple screenshots of it on his Instagram. It's a gray area. It's a tough standard. It's one of those standards that I think it would be a better test in live competition, because it's hard to know if you're going to get the no reps or not, and you feel like you're locked out. When you go to these live competitions, the judges at the briefings will say, if you have a movement limitation, let us know and we'll work with you to figure out what's going to be okay and what's not. In the online setting, you can't really do that. So he thinks he was moving as well as he can move in that workout. If you look at the screenshots, I cannot fault CrossFit for giving him a penalty. He's just barely missing that lockout. But it's just kind of the harsh reality of the virtual competition, and he was on the wrong side of it this time.
Do you know how many seconds his penalty was?
Over 2 minutes.
Oh.
He had posted the fastest time in Canada on that workout.
Yes, that probably. And what's the difference in points between first place and eighth place?
Like 35 or 40.
Okay, so let's say it's 40. Let's make it exciting. That would have given him 425 points, and that would have put him in sixth place.
So he still would have missed it. Yeah.
But that doesn't. But then he also would have got some points if he knocked some of those other people down.
Yeah. So he maybe steals 4 or 5 points from Pikowski, which is the guy he had to chase, which still wouldn't have been enough.
Right. So this is these. You're saying these guys are. This is a great group. This would have been a great live event. It'll be a great live event next year, and these are all guys to watch at the games.
The cool thing about next year is this Canadians won't all be in one semifinal. They'll be dispersed throughout North America, so they'll have the opportunity to send more than 5 guys to the games next year, and I'm willing to bet that they do.
Oh, say that again. I wasn't listening. Sorry, I switched to the women. Say that one more time.
This year, because of the COVID restrictions in Canada,
right,
all of the Canadians had to compete there. Now, we know there was one kind of guy who snuck under the radar, but next year, the Canadians will be dispersed through the 4 North American semifinals, so they'll have an opportunity for more than 5 of them to make the games, and I think more than 5 Canadian men will make the games next year.
So theoretically, if they're spread out over 4 regionals and there's 5 at each one, it could be 20 Canadian men. I mean,
theoretically.
Let's go to the women. I'm so excited. Carolyn Prevost made the games.
So she was, I think, in 3rd, and then there was a slight scoring adjustment, bumped her into 1st, so she's the champion of the Atlas Games.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, let me pull it up. You can ask a question while I'm doing that if you want. Yeah. She was in 2nd, 3 points behind Bailey Rail. We need to talk about, by the way.
Okay, let's talk about it.
And Mackenzie Riley was in 3rd. They shuffled something around, and then Prevost in 1st. I think Mackenzie Riley's in a tiebreaker, and Rail's in 3rd. So they were still the top 3, just in a different order.
Okay, let's talk about Bailey Rail.
Bailey Rail is a very significant athlete for us to talk about. Can you do me a favor? And I don't know if you know how to do this. I want to look at her quarterfinal results from this year.
No idea how to do that, but I can look at everything else.
No. This is important. I can put it while you're doing it. It says semifinal on the top left in one of those scroll down menus. Change it to individual quarterfinal.
So go to workouts and go to.
I can do it. But I'll talk about it while I'm looking it up.
Please.
So Bailey Rail was a backfill athlete, meaning she did not finish inside the top 120 at the quarterfinals. So the only way that she was able to be even in this semifinal was because some number of athletes declined their invite for whatever reason. She was 123rd, and that 123rd placement missed the cutoff by 3 spots. Now, this is what I want to see. And it's exactly what I thought. These were her placements in the online quarterfinal. She was 22nd, 37th, 222nd, 105th, 908th. What was she 908th in? She was 908th in the 4-rep max front squat. This is an athlete who, because of a 5-test competition with one test that was very specific in a big field, she did 207 pounds for 4 reps. That's pretty good. But there's so many girls that excel at that one thing that it basically kept her out of the 120, when clearly from a capacity standpoint, she's well inside the top 120.
You're also describing Carolyn Prevost 3 years ago.
Sure.
She had everything to go to the games except the strength.
Yeah. So in this situation, there was some backfill, so she gets an opportunity to get in. She gets an opportunity to get in, and she basically wins. I mean, she was 3 points, 2 points, I think 1 point away.
One point. 1 point. Yes.
So if you're looking at the season as a filtering process, and you need to go from open and get a group of people to the quarterfinals, and quarterfinals and get the people from the semifinals, and semifinals and get them to the games, and this girl wasn't good enough to make the semifinals, but then she got a backfill and got in, and she basically won her semifinal. To me, there's a problem with the programming. There's something off.
Oh.
See what I'm saying? Why?
I see what you're saying.
And then getting in, she can win.
I see what you're saying.
A little caveat on that. Most of the other athletes, if not all of the other athletes who got backfills, didn't really come close to even a qualification spot. She's kind of an exception to the rule, but I think that if you're looking at the totality of the season, you need to look at her as a case study and ask yourself, is the 4-rep max front squat type workout appropriately placed there if there's only 5 tests? Because you know how.
So you were saying talk to me about the 4-rep front squat. You were going to say something about it being an outlier when I so rudely interrupted you and stopped the recording.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear. Like, I'm not saying definitively that was a bad placement for that test. I'm saying Bailey Rayo's performance on that workout, and then also her performance on the semifinal. I think if you're just trying to look back on the season and say, it's a new format. Did we get it right? Her example is going to force a question of, should a test like that be placed in a competition that's only 5 tests?
Let me play devil's advocate. Sure. What would be another move? Give me another movement. Sorry for the loaded question. Give me another movement that would fall in that category that might need questioning.
So I think that it's critical to test strength. But Bill Groner and Chase Ingram often talk about this, which is also usually a 5-test workout. So they're not fans of the 1-rep max test as part of the open. They prefer to see strength tested in a format where you have to earn a heavy barbell. So if you look at a workout that has rounds of toes to bar and double increasing squat cleans, and say in this where there's a sample size that's a test strength. You can compare this to the eagle. Just like a 4 front squat is a bit of an outlier of a test, so is a ruck run. She got last place basically on the ruck run, and she was able to make up for it by doing well on all the other tests. That's because the size of the field was smaller, so she's penalized less. Also, the scoring system is different. In the quarterfinal, 908th scores is 908 points. That's a ton of points. It's more than double all of the rest of the points that she accumulated combined. In this case for Danny, it's almost no that workout, but it's not as severe of a penalty relative to the rest of the field because the scoring system is different and the number of competitors she's going against is different.
I know we haven't tested everyone, but you did say this was the only person who made it in the last chance qualifier who did this well, and I know it's a small sample, but do you think it's good? Isn't that the reason why? Isn't that the reason why we have things like the last chance qualifier? Don't you think that maybe this is an argument for how good the programming is because it is just one, as opposed to maybe it could be better? For something makes me think that, like, hey, at what point are you going to say at what point are you going to say, like in the open, the only thing telling you'll never make it to the games, I mean, this is a little bit of a stretch, is all the other people beating you, right? There's no event in there that's going to kill you, although there is events that will kill me. But you know what I mean? And then slowly you ratchet that up, right? So in the events, in the open, you wouldn't have a 500-pound deadlift, right?
No.
And then but then in the quarterfinals you ratchet.
But you have seen a 1-rep max test, so you could have
okay.
One max test where your 250-pound deadlift just gets absolutely massacred and it gives you no chance to advance.
Right. I guess I'm saying is at what point do you think it's okay? Like, do you think it's okay to put that movement in the semifinals because it's a smaller this workout that you're questioning, not criticizing, but we're just talking about, that's in the quarterfinals of the 4-rep clean and jerk, max clean and jerk with 4-rep
in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Front squat. Do you think that would be more appropriate in the semifinals?
Yeah, for the same reason that I think the ruck run is more appropriately placed in a semifinal than a quarterfinal.
Okay, I guess I could see
And
that.
and the main thing I want to say is I'm not saying that it was definitely a bad test or a bad place to put the test. My hope is that the people who are evaluating the season as a whole will recognize, wait, what happened with Baker here, and is that something we need to consider when we're looking at the season next year?
Right, right. I like it. Are you glad she made it?
I'm glad she made it. She's I actually don't know a ton about her. I think she's also in the Mayhem programming. She might even be down there training with those people and doing that kind of camp and competing against Samuel Cornway. Tyler Christopher was there that weekend, who got sixth for the Atlas Games for the men. Um,
Can you please use the vernacular Mayhem Empire? Mayhem Empire. Just hyphenate that Mayhem Empire. Go on.
and
What makes you think she's down there? Just from your memory? From just all the
uh,
data you hold in that brain?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she's a little bit off my radar. I don't have any record of her doing any sanctional as a team last year or as a individual in any of those. So she's a person that I'm intending to learn about over the next weeks.
Hey, that outfit you're wearing right now, wouldn't that be amazing if that was really a turtleneck and your chest was hairless, but that was just the way it was, like, you know what I mean? Like that was just a design, but like you could pull that off and like you would just be a hairless dude. So like
Yeah,
right now
like
you
one of
look
those
like you.
people. It's just their face on the beard on the outside.
Yeah,
Pull it down and beard.
yeah, that would be amazing. But that's not a turtleneck, right? That's a low cut shirt with like a bush hanging out of the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, all right. Who gave you that tank top?
You're not gonna.
Oh, I love it. Buttery Bros. I should have known. God, that is an atrocious color. That was the worst part about working with Reebok. They made shit like that. Sorry, Heber. Sorry, Mars. But that is disgusting. But good job repping the two hardest working guys in the biz.
No, they were here this weekend. I got to catch up with them a little bit. They're, they are working very, very hard. They're having a pool party right now that I'm skipped to do this with you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. I heard about it. I'm sure Heber's just getting so drunk there right now.
He's not.
Heber does not drink. But he will be swimming nude, skinny dipping. I heard.
I mean, the party is called the Shirts Are Dumb After Party. So.
Oh, I like it. Do you want to talk about any of these other people? Sydney Mikhailshin?
Nice job.
That was a last-minute save. I almost said Mikhailson, and Emily Rolfe, Mackenzie Riley, and anything nice you want to say about Carolyn Prevost, please say, because I would love to court her and get her on the show.
I'll let you. We've already talked about Carolyn. Look, Mackenzie Riley is another one of these moms. She had a kid recently. She came back to compete. I'm not. I need to talk to her. I know her and her husband a little bit, and I don't know if she thought she could do this or not. But she was right up there at the top after all 3 days. I think this is a tremendous win for her, and I'm going to reach out to them. But Emily Rolfe was doing these workouts with Pat Vellner. They've trained together in the past a couple of times. She's a games caliber athlete without a doubt. And Sydney Mikhailshin is, I featured her in a young preview piece a few months ago as someone to keep an eye on this season. She had a tough last day. What were her places on events 5 and 6? Do you see them there?
Those are is that the 5 was first place, and were there 7 events? Oh no, 5 and 6. Sorry, 13th and 5th.
Okay, so it wasn't as bad as I thought. But she dropped down a little bit on the last day. She was in the top 3, but she hung on to a spot, and I think she's worthy to be at the games. She hasn't had a chance to do a live competition against games caliber athletes yet. So this is going to be, I think she'll be a steep learning curve for her there, but she'll hold her own. She's pretty capable. She's 21, so she's a little older than the Emma Careys and Mal O'Briens, but she's just as inexperienced when it comes to competing against the girls we're used to seeing in the top 10.
And she took a first place. In workout 4. That's the barbell workout?
Workout 4...
snatches.
Oh yeah. She's how many reps did she get? 46 or something.
No, 52.
52. Oh, that's one more than I think that's one more than Katrin got. So she might have the record on that event now.
54. 54. I apologize. 54.
Damn, that's
And so, and to give you an idea, so for Carolyn Prevost got 43, second place, Mackenzie Riley got 46, third place, Bailey Rail got 39, Emily Rolfe got 43, and then Sydney got 54. I mean, that's 8 more than the second place finisher and 11 more than the first place finisher. Yeah, she crushed it.
and so that she would have beaten all the European girls on that workout also. And so we know who those people are: Katrin Davidsdottir, Annie Thorsdottir, Laura Horvath, Kristen Holta. So she won that workout not just in Canada, but actually across all 5 virtual semifinals. And I mean, snatching, I think it's 165 was their last barbell, 24 times after already doing 30 snatches to buy in and only a window with 2 minutes forced rest. That,
And she's 21 years old.
she's only 20 years old.
Do we want to go over to the Asia side?
We can talk about it.
Okay.
In fact, I would love to talk about the men because I put out projections for the men in Asia, and I took a lot of heat for placing Roman Krenikov third. What place did he finish?
Third.
So I didn't have the second place finisher right. I had the guy in second, I had first. The guy in first, I had in fourth. But Roman is, I will stand by. He's going to always do a little better in a live competition than virtual. I think he did phenomenal. But, those other 2 guys have been better than him at virtual competitions recently. That guy, Stas Solidov, is a Masters athlete. So now we have 2 male Masters athletes, him and Jason Smith, who've qualified for the games. It's far more rare to see a male over 35 make the games than a female. I don't know if I don't know how good he'll do in live competition because basically we've only seen him in virtual competition. Who did the Loudon Live off season were pretty good. So I'm excited that the Russians will be able, hopefully, to come and compete. They've had kind of a bad track. Roman made it a couple times but couldn't get here. Andrei Ganin qualified 1 year but failed the drug test. So hopefully these guys can come and represent their country well. And it's cool that another Masters male has made it.
Will those 2 guys who qualified for Masters and the games, will they both go to the open competition to any age?
I have to believe it. I mean, if you're training hard enough, this good to make it, and you get that chance, I can't imagine turning it down.
The guys who finished in the top 5 at this CrossFit Asia Invitational, only 2 of them and only 1 event each had placements out of the top 10. Mortez Sedegat got 14th place in workout 2, and Alexander Ilin got 15th place in workout 3. Man, Alexander Ilin, he could have changed the whole game if he would have just taken like 5th place, 6th place, 7th place in that event.
Yeah, so, there's just not as much depth in that region. So, even if you have a bad workout, it's not going to be a 15th, 20th, 27th place. In, West Coast, for example, there were some really good guys that had decent workouts. Like you said, it's like, they were only 10, 20 seconds away, but they finished 16th because there's a lot more depth. So
right.
There's some good guys at the top in Asia. There's just not 10 to 20 guys that are at that level yet.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, you look down. It's really interesting how close all these guys are. I mean, they all have amazing finishes. Let's go over to the women. By the way, just getting someone switched around from first to second or third to fourth, I still give you a win for that, Brian. I'm easy. What about these women? Is this what you thought would happen? God, and they all did great too.
I took a little gamble here. The girl who ended up winning is the girl I projected. Most people had the girl who finished 6th as a projected winner based on her quarterfinals results. But I just had a feeling about this Svetlana Kubishkina, and it ended up being a good feeling. So she ended up winning. And I want to just say, because I talked about it this morning, I used the word Oriental to describe people from Eastern Asia. Orient means Occident, West. I know that people can interpret it a different way. Really,
Did you get any shit for that?
I asked a couple people here, and all of them said you can't say that.
Awesome. And that's why you can say it on the Sevan podcast. You can say whatever the fuck you want on here. Fuck you.
I'm trying
not
to be
fuck you, but to you, but to everyone. Go on.
Describing a location that people will understand, and so we can just say Eastern Asia. And what I'm basically saying is not Russia and all the countries that used to be part of Russia, but that other part of Asia. And so I thought Yuko Sakuyama from Japan had the best chance. Sung Young Choi actually did it. She got in, and I'm super excited. Now, the counter is this competition was supposed to take place in South Korea. So you can only imagine how excited the South Koreans would have been if one of their women had made the game at a competition they were hosting. It would have been the first time hosting live CrossFit this caliber.
Oh, sorry. I had to search something real quick when you said that. When you said her name, say her name again. Sung Young Choi.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because last night I watched a fight. It was one of my favorite fighters. They call him the Korean Zombie, but his name is Chan Sung Jung. And what's interesting is every time the commentators would say his name, it's a UFC fight, I feel like they're showing off. You know what I mean? Like, are there names that you say where you're like, oh, yeah, watch me just Svetlana Kubashinkinini, and you're just like, yes, try to say that shit.
But then hey, there's how to say it, then you realize I'm close.
Oh, just say it with confidence. It makes you sound so smart when you do that. Brian, people are always going to say something about the words you use because you're at the top of your game. So they're just like, you know what I mean? Like,
but
he said the word Orient. Sorry, but he's canceled. There's two Svetlanas. Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's a beautiful name, Svetlana. Have you ever seen two? This is getting into some obscure details of the cross. Have you ever seen two people with the same first name in the semifinals this year qualify in the same region? In the same region, yeah.
I don't think so, and they didn't do it here either because only two girls advanced from Asia.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, you should. Of course, my question has no value.
What that means is Bowman did not qualify either until the controversy and question of will he be able to get to the United States isn't relevant this year.
Well, unless they start backfilling, unless one of these guys, Stoss or Alexander, says, "Hey, I can't make it," then they'll ask Roman, right?
Probably yes, but also he did qualify for the last chance qualifier, so he still is technically in a position to maybe earn a spot through that.
Does he do the last chance qualifier knowing that he can't come to the CrossFit Games? And we don't know for sure he knows he can't come, but do you think he still does the last chance qualifier?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that just loves to compete, and even if he can't make it, want to prove that he could have made it, that he was good enough to qualify. So I would think 100% he'll do it.
Okay. I want to do one final thing. I know you want to go party with the Buttery Bros. By the way, have you ever looked up Buttery Butter? Do you know what Buttery Butter is?
No.
Yeah, you should Google it. It's the tub of lube for anal sex. I mean, I guess it's for man loving, and that's how it's marketed. So when they chose Buttery Bros, I was like, wow, that's cool that they came out like that. I want to go to the women's event, West Coast Classic.
Okay.
The fantastic event that Matt O'Keefe and Dylan put on. Do you know Dylan's last name?
Malitsky,
Dylan Malitsky. Look at Danny Spiegel's ruck run.
Yeah.
27th place and a cap.
Just ask me, because a lot of people have asked me this on Instagram too.
Does this? Well, this is the harshest thing you can say. Should that just take her out of the running of going to the games right there? Like, hey, you can't swim, or whatever it is she couldn't do. But not only that, that's a little harsh. I don't think that's fair. But I would think that when you get capped and it's for reasons that have to do with performance and not injury or not weather or whatever, that you just automatically know you have no chance in hell of winning the CrossFit Games.
Yes, well, that's a different question. So, winning the CrossFit Games compared to should you be allowed to go to the CrossFit Games based on her performance in this event. And so this is I didn't see what was going on with her specifically in that workout. I've talked to several people who were out on the course and we're kind of at the transition area. And what I've been told is, at the end of the third lap, when she was coming into the arena, she was like kind of stumbling up against the barrier and losing control of her body. So she'd already completed 75% of the work. And she's obviously very strong, and she was incapable of taking the 40-pound sandbag off the ground and putting it on her shoulders. And so the medical team said, you need to stop right now. It's not safe for you to continue this workout. So she stopped workout.
Oh, shit. I'm glad I circled back on this. I had no idea.
So despite that, she wasn't last place in the field. There were women struggling even more than. But
so you're telling me this woman, who's arguably one of the strongest women in the world, in the CrossFit community for sure, was working. So tell me what the event was, the ruck run. Tell me like what they did.
So the women had a 10-pound ruck that was on their body the entire time. They ran 1,500 meters with it. They came back into the arena and they picked up a 20-pound sandbag that was an external object, put it on their back, and ran another 1,500 meters. They dropped that. They picked up a 30-pound sandbag, put it on their back, ran another 1,500 meters. And at that point, it was the position going into the last lap, which we were supposed to pick up a 30-pound sandbag, one more 1,500 loop. And the medical team saw the condition she was in and her inability to do that and stumbling into some barriers. And I haven't gone back to watch to see if you can see it. And they said, you need to stop doing this workout right now. Your own safety. So she was in bad shape at that point. They looked at her, evaluated her similarly to Brandon Luckett or this girl on a team who had a similar experience in that workout. So it was a safety thing at that point. She was trying to continue and do as work as she could, despite knowing she was going to have a bad finish. You know, at some point you have to prioritize the health, and I think that based on what I've heard, the medical team did the correct thing there.
And so she was 4,500 meters into the race when she picked up the 40-pound bag?
When she was attempting to, yes.
Okay, that's 2.8 miles. And was the run outside?
Yeah, 8% of the run outside. You only came into the arena to drop off your bag, pick up a new bag.
So when she was picking up the bag, and was there water on the course?
There was.
And were there misters or any other types of things? Not that I give a shit. I'm just trying to paint the picture for myself.
Misters.
I'm not being critical.
I don't think there were any misters, no.
And how hot was it outside?
I would guess it was they said it was like between 90 and 90 degrees throughout the run at 7:45 in the morning.
Whew, that's brutal. And were they were running in the sun? It wasn't like they were running in the shade?
A wide open parking lot.
Okay. And do you know what place she was in when she came through there?
Probably pretty close to where she finished, bottom 5.
Okay. And okay, so
she was
okay.
So I was told she was hanging tough middle of the pack until that third lap, and on the back end of the third lap, things started getting very difficult for her. So
she's wearing a 10-pound weight vest, and she has to pick up a 40-pound bag. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing to me. That would be so fun to talk to her about what was going through her mind. Did she show? Where were you? Why didn't you see this? Let's ridicule you for a second. Shouldn't you have been? Isn't that the spot to be?
It was kind of a strange event.
Were you at the venue or were you at some buffet in Vegas?
I was at the venue, but if you went, like, you could go out on the course, but once you went out on the course, you couldn't really move because you weren't allowed to cross the lines and get into the field of play. So I chose instead to sit in the stands and watch the broadcast and listen to it, figuring that would be my best opportunity to take in the most information.
And so there must have been cameras there. They got it since it was at this transition point.
Yeah, but all I could see the had finished. One of my responsibilities at the competition when the event finishes is to get the top 3 times, and the men immediately and send them to the publishing team for the Loud and Live. So I was with the scoring team, making sure I had the top 3 finishes, trying to get the caption to summarize the event. So I wasn't so focused on the bottom 5 finishers in the event at that point.
Oh man, you just saved yourself. I was just about to pick up my phone and text Tommy and ask him if he wants to step in for you on the Sevan podcast. That is all so valid at Brian Friend CrossFit. That is some valid shit. Okay. And by the way, no one can tell you not to cross the course. You do you. Okay, so what you're saying is that let's say that she let's say that it's fine if you get capped, you still get to go to the games. And this is one of those examples why I don't think that's a good rule. I don't think that someone who can't finish an event should be automatically DQ'd because of the weather. And that was one of the things I said actually in the beginning. This could not be, she can get her head psychologically wrapped around this, that this wasn't her fault and that she can still podium or win the games. It wasn't like she just didn't.
To me, the punishment was she only earned, how many points she earned for that event? Like 6 to 12 or something? You're taking a pretty significant hit on the leaderboard relative to your competitors, and you have to then fight back from that. But look at her other event finishes. 2nd, 6th, 5th, 1st, 6th, 3rd. You're telling me you don't want to see this competitor at the games?
And what's it say about her mental strength?
So minus that event, her event finishes are just as good as Carrie Pierce's, who we already said could have won the competition. And a ruck run like this, there wasn't at the Granite Games. There wasn't a ruck run. There wasn't a long event, and they only had 6 tests. So imagine you don't have the ruck run, and she has everything inside the top 6. We might be talking about the winner of the competition.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep, she close. Maybe move up a place or two because Bethany Shadburn did beat her by 90 points.
We might.
Right. Okay, Brian, that's a pretty good. Except for your shirt, I think that was near perfect.
Yeah, I think I'm happy we did this tonight while this was fresh in my mind.